Welcome to the StockMiner.com studios here in the Black Hills of South Dakota. I'm your StockMiner, Brian Johnson, making professional trading simple. And what a day. Boy, after Intel reported last night, that was definitely the market mover. They crushed earnings and good forward guidance on everything, which of course really brought the bulls to the table. I mentioned yesterday in my video that I was bullish on the markets themselves after seeing yesterday's candle, and that followed through today. But I also said that we were in a triangle and I was going to wait for the charts to tell me which way to go, and that's precisely what I did. The charts gave me my direction. They told me which way to go. I didn't go ahead and make predictions or say it's got to do this or it's got to do that. That is one of the number one rules to trading. You let the charts make your decisions for you. Let them tell you which way to go. I got an email from a guy this last weekend who was like, check out this site. And this other site was like, oh yeah, 1075 is where we should see a really big pullback right there. Maybe 1080 at the highest, and it's going to drop from there. We're certainly going to see a drop there. And then he proceeded to mention how he was long but hedged short. So he was pretty convinced we were going to go down, and yet he was long the market, which I don't know how you make sense of that. Let the charts tell you which way to go. Another gentleman, I've told you about this before, one of my students actually still is part of a newsletter and that he pays for every year. And they were telling him even yesterday, oh yeah, short the Qs, short all this other stuff, and he was able to look at the charts himself because, well, we went through the education, and he was able to look at charts himself and says, this guy's crazy. And ultimately what these people are doing is they're trying to call a top. Eventually, they're going to tell you, short the SPX. And one of these days they're going to be right. And then they're going to go, see, I called it. I told you so. Uh-huh. But they're not going to mention the, 5, 10, 15 times they were wrong leading up to that point. They're just going to mention that one time they were right. That'll be the big marketing thing for them. So all I'm telling you is let the charts tell you which way to go. That's the best way and the safest way to trade. Be just be unbiased going into it. There's, just like there's two sides to every story and the truth is somewhere in between, the markets are the exact same way. When you start putting your neck out there and really making bold predictions, it's usually when you get it chopped off. You better have a good technical reason, or something for telling people that, because you're just going to get yourself killed. Then you can see what the SPX did today. It did nothing but it moved up very quickly into the morning. I will say, I did have already a small short position, but after the Intel earnings last night, I was out of that first thing in the morning. It was a very small position. And then once we pulled back and there was no sign of really any major disturbance in the force, if you will, I decided to hang in there and look to catch along later on in the day. And the market started to consolidate kind of later in the day, waiting on the Fed speech and the Fed minutes. And as you can see, I even went ahead and I wonder if I can pull this up here. Hold on. Mentioned this to my subscribers that the market screened up in the morning on the Intel news and sold off a little bit at the open. Everything is creeping right back up to the highs. 1085 was really of no consequence. I thought 1085 might be an important part of the market. It really wasn't for the most part. FOMC minutes are in an hour, so we may continue to see some consolidation. If we move above 1087, we could see some resistance at 1089. But if all goes well with FOMC, then I can see us rallying into the close. Watch for earnings and stuff tomorrow. Make sure you're you're careful about your overnight position. So when the FOMC came out this afternoon, there was really little to no movement in the market whatsoever. There was no reason to think that that was a big factor on anything. And at that point, that rally into close was a pretty big possibility at that point. And as you can see, that's exactly what we did. Precisely as I mentioned to my subscribers. It was a rally into the close. And we're going to get into some numbers here. I'm going to show you what happened after hours, too, talk a little bit about that. But you can see we're right back up. This is the SPX on a daily, went right to the daily candle, or daily chart. And you can see we're right back up to resistance now. Pushing our way slowly but surely towards that 1100 area. Will we get a pullback before then? It's anyone's guess. A lot of people might try to front run this 1100 area. Who knows? But if we break that 1100, watch for the, because it's a big psychological mark, just like we broke 10,000 in the Dow today, look for the possibility of some bears to cover, and that'll only help the buying pressure to the upside. So let's start over with the Dow 60-minute. You can see here we're right back up to this trend line I have drawn in here, still remaining on the underside of it, but that breaking of the 10,000 mark could be a big psychological barrier. You really don't know till tomorrow, to be honest with you. We want to wait and see if we can get another confirmed close above the 10,000 mark on the Dow. If we go to a daily on the Dow, you can see it creeping back up here towards the top of its channel as well. I would love to see it come up here, touch, and maybe consolidate for a day. Give me a small little candle in preparation for the next move. I would be licking my chops if we could get that, because we've been up here quite a while now. I mentioned yesterday these two candles meant nothing to me. They were still bullish behavior. These were not, they could have been, I said could have been, reversal candles, sure. But until we get confirmation, they mean nothing. And so I was still bullish on the markets even after yesterday and these two quote-unquote topping candles, which some people like to refer to them as. I don't always see it that way. NDX, I mentioned above 1750 or 1755 was the point to watch, and it came right up to 1755. And if any of you get after hours data, you'll see that once it hit 1755, it sold off, and now is back to about 47 on the futures, so it's got to be pretty close to that now. So the Nasdaq fell off pretty hard after at about the 130 mark, and fell even after the close. So once it hit this topping area, this double top area, it pulled back significantly from that. We'll see if we can get a retest of it tomorrow. But on the first touch of these big numbers like this, a lot of times you'll see that pullback in the markets. NDX on a daily still managing to close below that dotted line. Let me show you this here. Oh man, okay, let's call it maybe on or maybe even just above this little dotted line I have drawn in here. And this has acted as very good resistance in the past, but I said up above 1755 and ultimately above this dotted line is where we need to get, for me to get a little bit more bullish on the Nasdaq at this point. If it can confirm this with another move to the upside tomorrow, especially above 1755, yeah, why not? Maybe we can see the test of the top of the channel like we are in the SPX and almost in the Dow. We could maybe see this come back up and retest the top of this. Just an incredibly strong move by the markets. And there's just no reason to step in front of this herd of raging bulls right now. If you're trying to call a top, you're killing yourself. Stop. Plan your trades. Know what you're going to do with it. Know what you're doing in the markets. On a weekly basis, still bullish look. We had this nice pullback, I said. It looked all very nice and bullish. Needed another candle to really convince me, but so far so good. Thursday, then Friday, we'll see where we end up. Maybe it comes back to a doji. I don't know, but we have 2 days left, so I'm not going to jump into anything too soon quite yet on the weekly. SPX on a 60-minute, you can see how we're way up. Look at this, just a gap up and nothing but run up all day long. We got a small pullback to let a few